What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Robbie Cassidy, and on this episode we're going to look at the biomedical model and the cycle that people get stuck in. And if you have had back pain or knee pain or any type of a recurring issue, and it's been going on for a couple of years, it's really important to listen to this episode, as I feel that there's going to be aspects of it that should resonate. Now, the real reason that I'm doing this episode is because too many people don't realize that there's a model that they're getting stuck in, and it's kind of the natural progression through when you go to your doctor, and then you go to your physio, and then you go to your consultant. But it only accounts and it kind of only helps very specific injuries. But if you're looking at a chronic injury, you're often beating a dead horse when you stay in this model, because it just continues to cost you more and more and more. The expenses pile up, but you don't really get any long-term relief, or you don't get any understanding of what's going on. Now, the biomedical model is excellent for dealing with acute injuries. It is what has gotten us to this point in history where we have top-class medical care, and even the most severe accidents can often be helped through the medical system that we have, especially when you look at first world countries, or you look at countries with a good healthcare system. But the problem is, when you go into that same doctor and you're complaining of a back pain that's after flaring up, and flare up being the word, flare up being the trap, many ways, is that the flare up itself within this model cannot be identified because it looks only for mechanical issues. So if you break a bone, excellent, this is really good. This biomedical model works really well. If you sprain an ankle, if you tear a hamstring, all of these work really well. If you dislocate your shoulder, biomedical approach is excellent. But if you're dealing with something that kicks up every 3 to 6 months, flares up and then calms down, and the same thing flares up again and then calms down, we're not looking at something physical here. We're looking often towards the neurological. And there can be physical involved, but it's more likely than not the primary issue if it flares up and then it calms down. Now, why do I say that? Because when you're looking at a flare-up based issue, it's a neurological issue. It's an issue that the body becomes overprotective, or response to it, or reactions to it. They all contribute, and it can become a bigger problem than it should be. So let's break it down. Let's go into it. I want to first talk through the biomedical model, and then afterwards, I want to talk through the new model, the new way of approaching this, what you need to do to actually make long-term change and to get your life back, so you're not stuck in this position that you're constantly looking for new therapies and new techniques to fix it. So let's say you're going about your day and it's the end of the summer. Okay, actually, well, let's use Christmas, because Christmas is an easier example because it's fresh on the top of people's mind. So you're going through Christmas and you notice that your back starts to get sore. So what you do is you first check in on it, and you start to kind of restrict your movements because you don't want to make it worse. Now, if it sticks around for a while, or if the pain starts to increase, you're often going to go to your doctor and you're going to ask him, look, this has been at me for the last while. It's very sore. I'm getting a bit worried about it. I want to make sure that there's nothing serious going on here. It is a back issue. I need to be aware. I need to be smart about how I approach it, yada, yada, because of all these things. And I say yada, yada, because we treat the back too cautiously often when we shouldn't treat it as cautiously, because of when you do treat it very, very cautiously and it's not something that's too severe. And 95% of the time, literally that's the statistic, 95% of non-specific low back pain has no physical cause. If you treat that too cautiously, it'll cause it to become a bigger problem, as you'll come to understand hopefully by the end of this podcast. So you go into your doctor and you ask him, what can I do? And your GP, they don't have that many options for what to give you, okay? So they'll say, here's your prescription. I want you to take your painkillers, and then I want you to rest. Just avoid activity and give it a little bit of time, and hopefully it calms down in the next 2 weeks. And then the week starts to go on and you're going through Christmas and you're out and about and you're meeting people and you're drinking and the social activities start to add up. And your diet starts to go out the window a little bit. You eat once or twice a day, large meals. You sit on the couch for a lot longer. Your movement drops off. The stress of getting back to work increases. And then you notice 2 weeks later that, look, the pain hasn't actually dropped off. I've stopped all movement. I've stopped anything that makes it worse. And it should be going away at this stage because it should be healing. But what happens here now is your activity drops, and then as a result, you think that you're saying, well, I'm doing what the doctor told me to do. But then the pain starts to increase, and you notice that your fear starts to build. Now, there's two options here, okay? The pain either improves slightly and goes away with the painkillers and you'll rest, or it stays the same or increases. Okay, 3 options, let's say. Let's just say the pain persists, or it sticks around, or it even returns. It goes away for a short bit of time and then it comes back. So you go back to your GP, you're saying, that didn't work, I need to find something new to do. And if I don't, it's getting worse and it's starting to become debilitating. And I know that my aunt had a back issue when she was younger and it stopped her from working. She had a back injury, she had to get multiple surgeries, and now she can't do anything because of it. Or I have a parent, or I have a family member, or I have a friend who had a similar experience. So you've all these experiences going on in the back of your head, and they can drive obviously they're going to drive a lot of fear and anxiety, but then that becomes a bigger problem in itself. You start creating this mountain out of a molehill. You don't notice it, but on the opposite side, you're starting to create this bigger problem. Will this ever get better? Am I doomed? Do I have to stop everything? Will I have to stop work? Do I have to stop activities that I love? How is this going to impact me in social situations? This narrative starts to run a little bit wild in the back of your head. So you go back into your GP. And if any of this resonates, please, I will give you exactly what to do at the end. So you go back to your GP and they say, okay, painkillers didn't work, rest didn't work. Let's go to physiotherapy and let's try it out. Excellent. Really, really good idea. Okay. I think this is one turning point here in a lot of people's journeys, because it completely depends, and you'll see all of these levels completely depend on the type of practitioner that you meet. So you go to a physio, and it's a physio that is used to dealing with acute injuries, acute back pain. So what they'll do is they'll often look at it from a postural perspective, and you're told that your hips are offline or your posture is a problem. You have weak glutes. All of these different, diagnoses or ways of looking at it, that you're saying that these are the root cause of the problem. So you're giving your bird dogs, you're giving your glute bridges, you're giving your cat-cow, and you're giving massage or tri-needling, and you feel great. You come out of that session and you're saying, wow, I've really turned the corner here. I'm feeling a lot better because you've gotten the massage. And one thing on massage is it gives you about 24 to 48 hour relief. But you have your new set of exercises, which is a great start to it. And then you start to do them and the pain starts to reduce for a few days, and you start to go about your day and you're picking up everything again. And then you notice the next week that there's a big spike. Let's say on a Monday morning, there's a huge spike again. And you don't know what's after happening. And now you're getting back into work, so it's becoming a bigger problem. So you're starting to think, right, whatever what happened this over Christmas when I was at home and I didn't have any issues and I didn't have any work to go to, now it's going to start impacting my work. Do I have to take days off? Okay. Now the thing is here, you went to the physio, and because they were an acute physio, the primary point of, let's say, attack, or the perspective that they've taken on it is that if we just work on the movement, we're going to see a big improvement. But the thing is that physio never asked you about your sleep, never asked you about your hydration or your diet, never asked you how's your mood, how's everything going on around you, are you having any issues, is there any conflict? These questions weren't addressed. So you can see that there's a very clear mechanical basis to their approach. Physiotherapy, physical therapy, you would expect that. So it gives you that short-term relief, but then you start to go back to work on the Monday, and as I said, your sleep drops off because the pain is there, and your sleep drops off also because of the anxiety getting back to work and will I be okay, and the change of routine. So now you get this spike, and what you do is you go back to your physio and you go back and you look for short-term relief. So now you're taking painkillers, you go get your massage, you do maybe adjustments with a chiro, and it's more rest than after that. And you're noticing that this is 6 or 8 weeks and you've seen no progress, no significant progress. You're constantly running into these flare-up cycles. Now, the very interesting thing to look at here is that I can guarantee you that within those 6 weeks, there has been times that the pain has dropped off. It hasn't been a huge problem. It hasn't been top of mind, but then the pain has spiked again. And every time the pain spikes, we get this negative reinforcement. And then when we think back on it, we think that was there all of the time. It's never let up. It's been there all of the time. This is a huge issue that I run into with clients. Is like we have to go back day by day and say, what was it like this day? What was it like this day? What was it like this day? Because then we can start to get a better idea of, okay, it was better for this. You were able to get through this activity. You didn't have any issue with it here. And then you can start to change it, because we'll see that narrative and script makes a big difference. So you go back, you get your adjustments, you get your massage, you feel better for under 24 to 48 hours. It flares up again. It's a big problem, might even be bigger because you haven't taken care of the root cause, which is more of the nervous system and how that's driving it. So you go back to your doctor and you say, look, this isn't working. I need to get an MRI. I need to get this checked out because it's starting to scare me and I think there's something seriously wrong with me. So you go to your doctor, they give you your MRI, you go in, and then your MRI results come back. And what do they say? I'm just going to say you're between 30 and 40 years old. Okay, if you're listening to this. If you're older than that, you're going to have even more results on the MRI. If you're younger than that, it can be a 50-50. So you get back your MRI and you look at it and you see all these changes all the way down along. L1, L2, L3, L4, degenerative discs, L4, L5, bulging disc, not touching a nerve, not encroaching on the foraminal space, whatever you want to say. And you see these results and you say to yourself, oh my God, my back is in bits. And completely depending on what your doctor is like, where people come to me and they say, my doctor said I had the back of an 80-year-old. Like, that's the craziest diagnosis I've come across, and people say that consistently. But I think sometimes it's how you pick it up. It's not what is exactly said. So you see this and then the fear sets in massively. Oh my God, my discs are degenerating. Like, I am in problem land. This is going to be a huge issue if I don't take care of it. This is only going to get worse over time. I have bulging discs. That is now a life sentence, people start to believe. That will never get better. And you start seeing, well, there has to be a structural basis to the pain that I'm feeling. Okay? Now, this is the catch. And this is where a lot of people come to me, is where they've hit this turn. They've got their MRI results. They've tried everything and they don't want to go for surgery just yet. And they're coming to me and they're asking me about them. What I'll say to them, and I'll just give them the results straight off. 50% of people over 30 years old have a degenerating disc or degenerative changes on MRI over 30 years old, and it's asymptomatic. So that means you have no pain. So if you are sitting beside your sister and you're sitting beside your mother or your father, and there's 4 of you there, there's absolutely guaranteed one of you are going to have degenerative changes on your MRI and no pain, even if you have no issue at all. So how can we say that we have degenerative change and that's the cause? It's literally the exact same as somebody coming in to me in the clinic and they have grey hair and me saying, right, you've grey hair, so you got back pain. That is exactly the same thing, because what it does is you're pointing at an age-related change and you're saying that's the cause of pain. And that's why I have a huge problem with it. And then, okay, there's a bulging disc, L4, L5. So could be causing it, might not be causing it. There's very specific symptoms that come alongside a bulging disc. If you have those symptoms associated with the condition that you're feeling, okay, we treat it a little bit different. We don't freak out. We don't need to change anything. But then again, bulging discs are also common in 1 in 3 people over 30 with no pain, asymptomatic individuals. So you're all sitting in the car there with your family as well. There's a good chance that one of them have a bulging disc and they don't even know it. Okay, it's the same. It's age-related change. Now, you can have more significant bulging discs. I understand that. You can be touching off the nerve. You can have sciatic type symptoms. You can have referral type symptoms, discogenic symptoms. Like, there's a lot more that come with that. And I understand it. I had 2 of them in my neck. I understand what it's like. Okay, but when I had 2 of them in my neck, they only flared up at a certain time. So when they weren't flared up all the rest of the time, what was the issue? That's what we need to look at. And that's why we don't just blame the structural causes. We don't just look at the MRI and say this is the reason. And it's huge. That's such an important, I really hope that people understand that. That's so important to understand. Because when you start to understand that and you get your MRI, you start to address it differently. You don't go and look and say, right, well, I need to get that disc cut out. I need to get those discs fused because they're normal changes. And this is the part that makes a big difference. You go to your consultant for advice. Now, if your consultant is a trigger-happy consultant who just loves to get down to business and cut things out, you're going to be in trouble because they'll say, you have the back of an 80-year-old or you have this or that or the other, and we need to get you on the table and we need to get that sorted. Okay? Or they'll pose an option to you. You could do this, you could try physio, but you know that hasn't worked before, so we could just get it on the table. I would say the overwhelming majority of consultants are not like that. In Ireland especially, they're very good. They're excellent. They say, let's try different things first. Let's not just get down on the table and cut you open and start to go in there and see if we can change things. But it's so important that the narrative and how you speak to them, it really makes a difference. So you go to your consultant and they say, right, let's try out more physio. Okay, I have one that I work with that's really good. I want you to try them. And you go to the physio, and because they have a better understanding of what's going on, they might be able to actually look at more of a holistic approach to it. But it depends on your ability to receive the information. This is really important, all right? If you are already set on saying, I have this bulging disc, I have degenerative disc disease, there's nothing that's going to help me apart from surgery, I can guarantee you in the next year you're going to have surgery. I can guarantee it because you have your mind fixed. And I can guarantee you 2 years later, after that, there's probably a good chance you're going to get surgery again. Okay, because you're fixed on this biomedical model. All right, so you go and you go to the physio, and in the physio they might give you a holistic approach, but oftentimes because you're going in and it's a private case, they want to give you relief right away. This is just really common within physio, because if they don't give you relief right away, then there's a good chance that you don't come back to them. And that's why this is why I'm able to tell people this in a lot of cases, is because if you sign up with me, I don't care about one session. I don't do one session with anyone. We only sign up for longer term, like 14 weeks, 20 weeks, 24 weeks. So I know that I can give you the hard truths, and then that you will then have things to work on, and that you will show up the next time after that. Because I can be honest and I can be straight with you, because I know that you're already in that position that, right, we're going to be working on this over the next while. So let's just get down to business and figure out what the real problem is here. But when you go to a private physio, they don't have that option as much, okay? Because in a private physio, you kind of have to play the game a small bit, where it's like, I need you to come back in a couple of weeks again, and then we can make improvements and we can build on it. So there is a bit of a catch there, or catch-22, where they give you the short-term relief as well, but sometimes people get a bit too attached to the short-term relief. So you go in, you get your same bird dogs, your same glute bridges, your cat cows, and you come out and you're feeling good again. But now we're 2 months after, or 3 months after, okay? And the same issue is kicking up. And you're getting really frustrated with this, because it's actually starting to have an impact on your life, your social life, and your mood. You're fighting with people in your relationship, you're at work, you're not enjoying it, you can't sit still, the pain is always there, and you're fixated on the pain, and it's a huge problem. So you go back to your consultant, and they say to you, look, the only option we really have here is to inject it. So you say, let's do it. If it's going to give me relief, let's inject it. Now, there's actually, I often give out about injections because it's like a first line of defense. But at the same time, in the last year, I've been working with a good few people, and they've hit, let's say, the wall where they're like, I just need a little bit of relief. And I'll say, perfect. Let's get the injection, but we're not going to sit on our morals and say that, great, laurels, and say, great, everything's going to be fixed now. We're going to build on it. Now, the only people that I really recommend injections to are like high-performing athletes who have to play a game in the next week or two. Like if you're qualifying for the Euros, or if you play in the Premier League. And two of those cases, in both cases, I have recommended the injection to the person. Now, in the last year, I would say that if somebody's at a place that they're struggling a small bit, their coping is going down because other things are going on in their life, then we say, all right, let's see if it helps, and then we can work around it, we can work with it. Okay? But the thing is that the injection isn't going to fix it. So don't ever think that when someone says to you, we're going to inject it. Like a person said to me this year, they're going to inject it and it's going to dissolve the issue. And I was like, no, it's not. That's not going to happen. Like, that's not the case. They'll inject it, corticosteroid, you will start to feel better, you will reduce inflammation around the area, and it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to kick in. So if anyone's got them recently, it hasn't kicked in yet, it does take a little bit of time. But you still have to correct everything else. Okay? And what I mean by that is your sleep still has to improve. Like, sleep is a huge driver of pain. If you have poor sleep, there's a big chance that you're going to have more pain the next day. Like, I'm trying to be very cut and dry here with people. Okay? I might sound like I'm coming across very sharp, but I just want you to understand that, like, I'm very passionate about this. There's so much more you can do before you get to this point. And when you get to this point, it's all about what you do after. You don't go in, get your injection, and then go about your day. There's a population that does that consistently, okay? And we can bring them up if you want to. There's a population that continually look for pain relief. And when they look at pain relief, they're looking at pain relief from life, the pains of life, okay? And when we look at this, it's people that are addicted to narcotics and addicted to morphine, addicted to heroin. Like, these are the short-term relief. I know it's a tough image to think about, but these are people who are not able to cope with the pain as much, is one aspect of it. And obviously there's more aspects to the addiction, and I would never speak about addiction as if I have any idea about what they're going through. But I just mean that they are looking for short-term relief when they do that. They take it, they know what they're getting themselves into. They know they're going to feel better for whatever amount of time that sticks around for. I've never done it, so I can't tell you how long it sticks around for. But that, we don't want to get stuck in that cycle of that we're just looking for short-term relief to get us out of this situation, and then in a couple of weeks we're just looking for short-term relief to get us out of this situation. And honestly, I've talked to so many people over the last 2 weeks who have said they're just taking painkillers every single day now to get through the day. And that's a big problem. You can't be doing that. Like, you're not going to live a normal life if you do that. And over time, you're going to become more dependent on them. And when you try to get off them, it becomes more challenging because you get this huge rebound pain. So we do have to kind of befriend our pain a small bit. We do have to understand it better, and we have to work with it. And sometimes the pain is there and we just have to literally sit with it. Trying to get rid of all pain all the time is not the best option. Okay? There is times where you have to sit with the pain, and there's times where you have to take care of yourself, and you have to take care of your own mind, your own body, and just allow it to pass. And then we can start to build on it. So let's say you go and you get your injection, and it gives you that short-term relief. It gives you that up to 3 months, let's say. It gives you 3-month relief, and then it's now summertime and you're getting a bang again. Okay, everything drops off, you're starting to feel good, you increase your exercise, you start to sleep less, you're out, you're drinking more. As a result, the pain returns, and now you're really frustrated. You're very confused about why it's happening, but you're very frustrated. Now, in all of these cases, okay, there's a huge problem here that we're running into, because you've went to the doctor, you've gone to your physio, you went back to the doctor, you got your MRI, you went back to your physio again, then you went to the consultant, then you went to their physio, then you went back to the consultant, and then you went and got their injection. But there's a huge part that's being missed here, because everyone is pointing and saying it's the degenerative discs, it's the bulging discs, it's what your MRI shows, it's your posture, it's your hips are offline, it's your tight muscles. Everyone is pointing towards these things, but nobody is looking at the root cause of where pain comes from. Pain is derived in your nervous system. Okay? Your nervous system decides how much pain you have on a day-to-day, no matter what. That's why someone can get shot in a battle situation, and they can get away, get back to a safe area, have no pain, and then they start feeling the pain. And people say it's adrenaline. It is, one aspect is adrenaline. The other aspect is that your body shuts it off for survival. So your nervous system is deciding on that. I always talk about the analogy of Lego. You step on a piece of Lego at nighttime when you're going to the fridge, it is literally a 10 out of 10 pain, one of the worst pains, like really sharp pain, okay? You go, you look at that piece of Lego, you put it on the ground, you step on it with the same pressure or more, and it's like a 1 out of 10 discomfort. It's not even an issue. The reason being is your body has perceived the level of danger, and it said it's a piece of Lego. It's not a sharp piece of glass, it's not a nail. So it doesn't waste any energy in giving you lots of pain. Okay, it's not going to do any damage. But at nighttime, you don't see that. It's better for it to perceive it as a huge issue. So what it does is it thinks it's a piece of glass or thinks it's a nail, and it gets you to jump off it as quick as possible so you can assess the situation. You need to understand that. That is the key. That is the key to chronic pain. The key to chronic pain is that your nervous system starts perceiving everything as dangerous and everything as a problem for whatever reason. Unless you start addressing that and you start addressing the nervous system, and not saying that it's the bulging disc or the degenerative disc disease, then you won't make long-term progress with this. And what I'm saying is that you've been to your GP and you've been to your doctor and you've been to your consultant, but none of them has sat you down and said, look, how has your stress been over the last couple of weeks, couple of months? What are the biggest stressors in your life at the moment? Nobody has asked, how is your sleeping? Are you eating enough food? Like, one big problem has really come to light to me in the last year, 2025, was the impact of diet on your levels of pain. And we have helped a load of people just by getting them to eat 3 meals a day while they take care of everything else. I remember having that. We had one specific case in the back pain back to exercise group. The lady came in, we looked at everything, we got her on track, we started to work on the sleep and we started to work on everything else. She was really improving, but the pain was sticking around. So we got her to track her calories, just track her diet for a week. And we could see that she was basically taking in nothing. It was like 1,000 calories a day, okay? Nothing compared to what she was actually doing with work and the position that she was in. So what was happening is her body was in constant survival mode. And all we had to change to get it from a 7 out of 10 down to a 2, 3 out of 10 on some days, a 7 out of 10 every day to 2, 3 out of 10 on some days, was correct the diet. 3 meals a day, 2 snacks. That's all it was. She did that, and then we started to build strength and we started to build out her exercise activity, and we started to see more significant change longer term. So diet was a huge factor. It was a low-hanging fruit, and once we took care of it, we saw the change. But if she didn't know that was a factor, then you wouldn't have been able to take care of it. Then it's also hydration and your beliefs. And you're just looking at the nervous system. Your beliefs around pain are massive. If everything that you perceive is dangerous, if every movement that you turn and you feel pain and you say, I need to not do that again, then you're going to create a big problem because it becomes overprotective. So you have gone down this line and you have taken your injections, it's gotten back, pain keeps coming back, but nobody has asked you about that. Nobody has addressed any of the factors that I just talked about there, with all of the lifestyle factors that play into you having more pain and play into your nervous system perceiving everything or processing everything as a threat. So what happens then? You go back to your surgeon or your consultant. They don't really have that many more options. Okay? And it's really important to understand that. You go to a Ford dealer and you ask them for a Volkswagen, they're going to give you a Ford. You're getting a Ford. Okay? They don't have that many other options. And you're desperate for a solution. So they say, like, they'll break it down, this helps in this many cases, it could help in your case, do you want it? But the thing is that you know now that the surgery often doesn't address the protective response. There's a lot of cases that surgery makes a huge difference. And I will say that if you have like a very significant bulging disc that's really pushing on the nerve and it's taken a long time for it to heal, often surgery can be it can be a good option there if it's a big problem for you. But in most cases, I would say that you can really work on it. Discs reabsorb. And in most cases, that's not the main problem. Okay? When we're looking at non-specific low back pain that comes with a flare-up pattern where it gets worse and then it improves and then it gets worse and then it improves. So important to understand that. So now that we're understanding the aspect of the biomedical model and the cycle that people get stuck in, the flare-up trap, I want to change your perspective on this. I want to introduce you to a different way of doing things. And this is what we do with all of our clients. This is what we do with everyone who's gotten on board, because this is the system that all of the research is pointing towards that works the best. It's a sustainable path. It's a complete change in perspective around we need to get rid of this pain now for good, to we're going to start to improve this. We're going to start to improve the system. We're going to reduce the level of danger that it's processing everything at. And we're going to start to get you back into activities that you enjoy, rebuild your confidence, get you back into life. You don't have to avoid social situations. You don't have to avoid travel. You don't have to avoid any type of exercise or any type of movement. You can get back into this, but you need to change your mind and your perspective. And that's the biopsychosocial model. That's what it is. You address the biological, which is what the biomedical model addresses really well. You address the psychological, and you address the social. And the social is missed in many cases, and that's Your environment really is what it is. So what do we do for that? First off, when a flare-up happens, we ask, what triggered this? We don't react. We don't say, I need to fix this now, give me painkillers, I have pain. We reframe it and we say, these flare-ups are signals, they're not setbacks, they're information, and we can work with this information, and the body's given us a sign. So you look at what triggered it. Is it stress? Is it sleep? Is it loading? Loading is like your activity, and that can be cognitive load, it can be physical load, it can be emotional load, it can be spiritual load. What is causing the load to increase that the body can't handle it, and now it's giving you signs that it needs to take a step back? One of the biggest drivers of a flare-up for anyone, just if you're listening now, is fatigue. It is fatigue. The same as if the battery of a car goes low, all the lights and the dash turn on. So if your system's energy starts to drop, you're going to start perceiving everything as a bigger threat. So you have to address that first, because there's no exercise that's going to fix that. You have to address the energy within the system. And are you actually able to get into a recovery state? So then what we do is we zoom out. We've asked the question, but now we zoom out and we look bigger picture. How has my sleep been recently? Is there anything I can change with that? Have any of those habits or behaviors been in my control, or what's outside my control? Is there someone sick in my family right now? Like, it happens to mothers a lot that when they're dealing with young kids who are sick, they're able to, they get through that, and then when the child recovers, then they just get hit with this huge flare-up. Okay? If you have a child with special needs, it's a constant worry for people. People that I work with, this is something that they tell me it's a constant worry. So we need to look at how we can give ourselves space in a lot of situations where we can actually recover ourselves. And if you're staying up really late, trying to get more hours in the day, and then waking up early, your sleep, it's going to make a huge difference if you can start to get that right. Your hydration, are you drinking enough water? It's grand drinking it on a Monday, but are you doing that on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday and a Friday and a Saturday and a Sunday? Because everyone is really good at getting it in, drinking a lot of it really early, and then stopping then and missing it for the rest of the week. So one thing I would suggest with that is, if you are going to drink your water, try to get the majority of it in before 12 o'clock in the day. Simple strategy that works really well with a lot of our clients. Try to get the majority of the water in before 12 in the day, and it's much easier than to be sipping on it throughout the day. And then you reduce it after 6 p.m. in the evening. Why? Because you don't want to be impacting your sleep by getting up all night. Like, these are the tactics, these are the strategies that we give people who are struggling with this, because it's simple things that you can just apply right away and you can start to see change. How are your stress levels? Do you have space for yourself? Is there anything else in your life that has changed? Are you afraid of any movement at the moment? Like, it could be that you are noticing that when you bend down to pick something off the ground, that you're very hesitant and you move like a bit of a block to do it. And if that's the case, we need to just hit repeat and get reps, and get more reps where you're controlling your breath and you're changing position, you're picking different things off the ground. Is it that you're feeling it when you are, let's say, getting in and out of a car, where you're noticing that my back is tight? A lot of people say that to me as well, is that's when I really start to notice it. Okay? Well, then what we need to do in that case is, first off, you're inhaling, exhaling, breathing, relaxing yourself. As you're going through it, you're not catching your back, you're not reaching back and gripping it, you're not like moving like a block out of the car. It might be that you just do a couple of light rotations before you get out. You step out of the car, you stand up, and you do reinforce that with a couple of light rotations as well. Okay? You're trying to find the movements that you're fearful in, and then you start to build confidence in it. Which brings me on to the next step. The next step of what we do then is we rebuild safety and we rebuild confidence. So you use movement to calm the nervous system. So a lot of the stuff that the physio is doing with you in the acute phase is actually really good. It's excellent. Like, we have some top class physios in Ireland, like really do. World class, I would say. People from all over the world come to Ireland or work with physios from Ireland because of that. And in the world in general, I would say that the standard of physiotherapy is very good for a musculoskeletal physiotherapy, let's say. More for an acute. So we use movement to calm the system, and we learn what positions start to feel safe. Then we also take time and we learn what feels a little bit dangerous. And then we know, okay, that feels dangerous, I'm going to work on that. We don't want to be just avoiding it. Like, people say to me, I want to avoid deadlifts and I want to avoid RDLs or kettlebell swings. And I'll say, great, we're going to do that for the first 5 weeks. And then we're going to start doing those exercises, because we can't have you doing the two main movements that you do on a day-to-day, bending down, like squatting down, picking things off the ground. and like a type of a hinge movement, we can't just isolate those and say we're never going to do those again. Okay, it's about volume intensity. You start small and you build it up, and then now you're starting to get a better idea of what's going on. So you work on the habits, not just the muscles. You work on walking, you work on your hydration, you work on your recovery, you work on breath work. Breathing is so important, it can calm the system down. And then you focus on routine over relief. And this is really important. What does that mean? That means that the stuff that you do today helps you tomorrow. Okay? It's a phrase that we nail with all of our one-to-one clients in the select group, and it's something that we nail in the Back Pain Back to Exercise group as well. What I do today helps me tomorrow. What I do today helps me tomorrow. So if I drink more water today, I'll feel better tomorrow. And then that makes you stop relying on these passive treatments and these instant treatments of your painkillers, your chiros, your adjustments, your osteos, where they're getting in and they're trying to click things back into place, where it doesn't really happen, but it gives you the sound. It's nearly like, I would say, sound therapy when you get those clicks, because you hear it and it's like, great, it's back in place. But if you look at it, and as I always say to people, if my hands here, I know you can't see it now because I'm obviously on the mic, but if my hands here are moving all perfectly and everything's going well, and I just go and I crack my knuckles, my hands are still moving perfectly, nothing has changed. Literally nothing has changed. I can't lift heavier after I do that. I don't move better after I do that. It's just a gas being released. But the sound sounds really nice. So you can often attach to that sound and then become a little bit fixated on, I need to get it cracked back in because it fixes me. Okay. Now, obviously everyone likes to get their back cracked as well. It's nice, but it is a lot of times it is actually a sound therapy more so than a physical therapy, that things are changing. Now, if you keep relying on those passive treatments, what will happen is you will lose confidence because you become a bit more dependent on them. So what we do is, like, we're always looking at what we do today to help us tomorrow, so that you don't lose confidence. You know that if you have a bit of a setback or an obstacle, you're not in a bad place. You can build on that going forward. And then overall, the goal is to build tolerance, not avoidance. We don't look at trying to avoid the walking because it causes pain, or running because it causes pain, or cycling because it causes pain. And we don't say swimming is the best thing for all back pain, like you often hear. Swimming helps a lot. It's really good. I love swimming. I think it's a really good exercise and activity to do, and it can be nice for people as they're getting back in. But if you don't like swimming, then it's not the be all and end all. You don't need to do swimming just to get your back right. Running is just as good for back pain. It helps to build stronger discs. I bet you never thought that. I bet you thought that running probably breaks it down and it's really bad for it. It's really bad for your knees, is one that you always hear. No, it's not. When done right, with the right volume and right intensity, it gets stronger. And that's what we do when we build tolerance. We look at movement patterns and we start to build strength through ranges. And we start to build these small wins consistently over time. And we make change, and then we reflect on the change, and we look at it and we say, that's improving, I'm feeling better. And you look at your narrative and you look at how you speak about your body, and then you look at the environment, how people around you speak to you, and they say, how's your back? And you say, my back is good. I'm working on it. It's improving. It's getting better every day. I'm feeling strong. And it's really important to have that narrative, because if someone says, how's your back? And you start saying, it's all right. And you kind of get into this bit of a pity party for yourself. That's going to reinforce that it needs to be protective, and you're going to have more pain. That's the way it is, because the body will say, right, consciously, you're reinforcing that I need to protect it. So subconsciously, I'm going to give you more pain. All right. So how you change the narrative is really important as well. And then over that, you have your small wins. You build consistently towards the activities that you want to do, whether that's walking, running, playing paddle, getting back into the gym, doing exercise classes, doing a high rocks, doing a Tough Mudder, whatever it is, climbing Kilimanjaro. All of these things are just things that, top of my mind, people have done that recently, that we have worked with, because it's like goals that you set for yourself. You need to start working and measuring along that path. And the very last point on it is, the overall goal is to not get rid of pain forever and all. That it's so important to understand that, because you're going to run into obstacles, things can kick up, and then you react and say, oh my God, I have a flare up again, I'm back at square one, Jesus, I can't believe it, scrap the whole lot, nothing works, I'm out the door. No, you don't. You have a flare up, and then you start to become very tactical, and you say, okay, I have a flare up, it's time to go back. Step one, what has triggered this? Zoom out, bigger picture. Rebuild safety and confidence. Work on your habits, not just the muscles. Stop over relying on passive treatments. Build tolerance, improve your narrative, and then you start to regain trust again. Now that's how you do it. That is exactly how you do it. That's how you work on it. That's how you get back into the activities that you love, and into a life that you're independent and you're not restricted by pain, and you don't have to stop everything that you're doing because of pain. That's how you do it. You're not just looking for symptom relief, you're looking for long-term resilience, and you're really looking for freedom in your life. And it can be done. So I hope that has highlighted maybe some of the issues that you've run into in the past, and what would help you in future if you do start to get back, and if you are looking to overcome this. You can get your life back. You can get confidence back. The fixation on pain can often be a bigger problem than you expect, and that's why we have this step by step, and that's why we start to implement this step by step. Because when you start to fixate on the pain, you start to really, it's like you make a mountain out of a molehill, and we need to avoid that as best as we can. So we start small and we build over time, and we look to make change. And then when we make change, we start to get stronger, and then we start to feel stronger, and then we start to feel confident, and then we start to talk differently about our body. How you talk about your body makes a huge difference. So speak to it, like work with it. Don't be blackguarding it and saying like, you did this to me again, like piece of shit, like this, that, and the other, just abusing themselves. Like, no, we need to be empathetic. You need to take a step back and be empathetic with yourself and say, okay, I'm here where I am right now. I want to get back to this life. I see other people having this life, and it looks like for them it's very easy. Now, it is easy to maintain it, but the path to get there, the journey to get there, it's nice when you have like your step-by-step approach, or if you have a structured approach. And if it's something that you need help with, we would be happy to help. We have our Back Pain, Back to Exercise group program. It's a 14-week program. We're running an extended offer on it right now, that you can extend it up to 20 weeks. And you can jump in with us. You can get all the program. You can get your community. You can have your community. You have the education and everything that I talked about in more detail here, how to take care of each part of it. We even do one-to-one calls, just me and you on the call, where we talk through everything. So if that sounds like something you want to do, absolutely, just no problem. Send us a message on Instagram, or you can email me at info@themobilitytutor.com. My Instagram is RobbieCassidy_. And just send us a message and say, look, I need help with a back issue. I want to get back to exercise. Like, that's all you have to say. You don't have to come out and just like, if some people freeze, I don't know what to say. That's literally it. I just need help. Can you help? And what we'll do is we'll go through it a little bit in the messages, and then we will set up a call. We can talk through everything on the call, and we can see which is the best option. Do you want to do our Back Pain, Back to Exercise group program? Do you want to do our Select program? Or honestly, if I don't think it's that much of an issue, I'm not going to try to sell you down a hole. I'm just going to say, look, you just need to do this for a little bit of time, or maybe highlight something, and then you can go on your way. We only take on people that are a good fit. That's a big thing. So we do turn away people a lot of the time, because it's like, if it's not a good fit for us, we don't want you to be in there saying, I don't want to be here. And we don't want to have people in there who are on a different path as well. Like, it's always about on the same path. Good community, nice people, everyone's in line, and everyone's working towards goals. And then our Select program, that's just a one-to-one program. It's like it's a longer term. It's a 24-week program, and right now we are running an offer on it as well. We're letting people in at a New Year price, and then also letting people in for a longer period. So if you want to, that's like if you have specific goals you get back to. If you really want to dive deep into it, if you want more one-to-one access, you get access to all the group calls anyway when you're in the one-to-one. And yeah, it's just more contact, and we can really get down to business and work on things, and really look at your beliefs as well, and how to work on those. So if you have any interest in that, just send me an email, info@themobilitytutor.com, or write to me on Instagram and say, at RobbieCassidy_, and just say, I have a back issue, I need a little bit of help. Can you help me? Okay? Or if you want to, you can just say back program, if you're really that frozen in what to say. But yeah, honestly, guys, I would love to see you. I would love to help you. And if there's any way I can help at all, I'm always here. But I do hope that you enjoyed this podcast. And if you did get anything from the podcast, if you feel that it helps, if you feel that it maybe resonates with you or may resonate with someone else, I would love if you could send it on to them. It'd make a big difference to extending the reach of the podcast. Because I just post it on Instagram, and if people like it, and if they find it on Spotify, and if they like it, or iTunes, they like it, that's great. But honestly, the way it expands is if you send it to other people who are in a similar position or who may benefit from this. And yeah, it helps me a lot as well to get the word out there. Yeah, that's it. Last one then is I'm trying to get up to 1,000 ratings. I'm I'm way off it. But if we could, I would love if you could give it a 5-star on Spotify or on iTunes. You just scroll up to the top and add your rating. It'll be a huge help. But that's it. That's all, guys and gals. Thank you so much for listening. I do appreciate it as always, and I hope that this has helped. So we'll leave it at that for this week. I'll chat to you all at the same time next week. Have a good one.